Hey, what's up guys? So good news for owners of the Radenso Pro and Radenso Pro SE. Radenso has just released the long-awaited firmware update. It's Firmware US22, and it brings a number of nice changes to the older Radenso products. Now basically what they've done is they spent a lot of time working on the Radenso Pro M to do things like improve the BSM filtering, the GPS lockouts, things like that. And now that they've got a lot of that stuff sorted, they've taken the time to bring those same updates to the Radenso Pro and the Radenso Pro SE. And so you can actually go online now. I'll put a link in the video description, download the firmware update. There's new update software as well, so grab that too, and go ahead and update your detectors. Now the US22 brings a number of different changes. What they've listed online, there's 3 different changes: improvements to the BSM filtering, the GPS lockouts, and a new K-band segmentation option. So let's run through them real quick. The first thing as far as the BSM filtering, basically, well, improvements to the BSM filtering, which is really nice. I'm really curious to see how it compares to the Pro M. I've since given away my RPSE, but I've got the Pro M here. The second gen version of the Pro M, which is what this one is, actually has a hardware change over the first gen Pro M and the Radenso Pro and the Radenso Pro SE to help with the BSM filtering as well as the MRCD detection. Now, this guy in terms of BSM filtering is pretty fantastic. Nobody on the forums has reported a single false to a Honda or an Acura yet, which is kind of amazing. I don't know if there's any other detectors that's the case. I think it's only these ones, and same thing with my RCM. I don't think I've had any so far. I got one the other day with a Chevy Malibu, but other than that, it seems to be very effective in terms of BSM filtering. And they've brought over the same level of software and filtering to the Radenso Pro and Radenso Pro SE. Again, those ones don't have the same hardware chip that this one has, so I'm really curious to see what people are going to be reporting on the forums now that people are going to be downloading and updating their detectors. But yeah, it should be a very nice update in terms of BSM filtering. The second change is some improvements to the GPS lockouts. Traditionally, one of the issues with Radenso for the Pro and the Pro SE has been that the GPS lockouts don't stick. You would go to lock out a signal and then you'd come back later, and it may or may not actually remember that you locked out the signal and stay locked out. Now with the Pro M, it looks like when you lock out signals, they stay locked out, and so these new, the new algorithm, the new implementation for GPS lockouts is now available for the Radenso Pro and the Radenso Pro SE. And then finally, there's a new option for K-band segmentation. It's called K SNarrow, which I'm guessing stands for K Super Narrow. The idea is you get an even more narrow range of K-band that it sweeps for. It's basically 24.090 to 24.185, and this range is kind of cool because you're going to be filtering out some, lower BSM falses, like your maybe GM vehicles around 24.060, kind of that range, as well as your Hondas and Acuras that tend to be up closer to like 24.198, 24.200, kind of that range or so. So again, I'm not sure how the RPSE's BSM filtering is going to be handling those ones, but you also now have an additional option to help filter those out with the new K SNarrow option. Again, you'll want to be careful and make sure that you're not actually, cutting out legitimate police radar, which can also be in those frequency ranges. And unfortunately, with the detectors, it still says all K-band is 24.150, I believe, on the face of the detector. It doesn't have an accurate frequency display yet, and so we can't exactly tell what it is. And, you can't tell just driving around, if you're encountering legitimate police radar that's outside of that range. It's a little bit tough with these detectors, but there is now an option for this new K Super Narrow option. And I guess I'm also curious to know if, if they're able to get more precise scanning and frequency analysis, basically frequency determination or whatever it is, to know what the frequency is of the signal accurately. Are they going to be able to start displaying that on the detector and no longer just saying 24.150 or something? So that's kind of something I'm curious about, just kind of in the future, but that's not something part of this update. Basically, they just have K SNarrow as a new K-band segmentation option. So anyways, that's an overview as far as the new changes. A big thank you to Radenso for bringing these updates over to the Radenso Pro and the Radenso Pro SE. I'll put a link in the video description to where you can go to download the software, as well as the discussion on RDF, where people are talking about the new firmware update, the effectiveness, any issues that they encounter or not, things like that. So, so far, things are looking good. For those of you guys who have one of the detectors, I'm really curious to hear what your experience is going to be once you update and then run that detector for a while and see how the new BSM filtering and the new lockouts and I guess the new K-band segmentation option fare for you. So anyway, yeah, there you go. There's an update with the new firmware update, US22, for the Radenso Pro and the Radenso Pro SE. Thanks so much for watching. Let me know if you have any questions, and I'll see you guys in the next video.